Greetings, fleshlings. I am Urabrask, the Praetor of the Great Furnaces on New Phyrexia. I am here to tell you all about how to play a deck with me as your commander. I'm often looked down upon as the worst of the Praetors because of the others having much stronger abilities. However, because of this claim, I cost the least human money of all of us, making me easier to pick up than all of my rivals, all of which are incredibly expensive. So just relax and hide out in the furnaces with us, where we shall plot the destruction of the other Praetors. I, Urabrask the Hidden, am a 4/4 Praetor for 3 red. Just like my Praetor brethren, my abilities involve resource enhancements for our own army by granting them haste, and denying our opponents of their resources by having them enter tapped. Red is the color of aggression, and we furnace dwellers are no different. Though my abilities might seem lackluster on their own, paired together, our enemies will be overwhelmed in mere minutes. When most fleshlings imagine Phyrexia, their minds are plagued by the thought of being consumed by the spread of Phyrexian oil, as can be seen in the keyword infect. Most of you flavor builders may want to try to force mono-red infect. However, doing so would yield terrible results if you actually intend on victory. There are only 3 mono-red creatures with infect, 8 colorless creatures, and 1 land with the much-hated keyword, and most of them don't provide much for this format. So I am here to show you how to command a real army without the tainted ways of my fellow Praetors. For starters, what's an army without soldiers? With an aggressive battle tactic such as our own, we will want the right soldiers to match. A few choice examples include Neheb, Dreadhorde General, Scourge of the Throne, and Ilharg, the Razeboar. These creatures benefit excellently with my own ability to grant them haste. I am particularly fond of the Scourge, along with similar effects, such as Combat Celebrant and Hellkite Charger. Extra combat steps are an essential part of our aggressive strategy. Neheb allows us to rid ourselves of any unwanted cards in our hand, while also providing us mana to use for the new cards he gives to us. And Ilharg can catch any opponent off guard by summoning any creature from our hand to charge into battle alongside him before returning to the general safety of our hand. Others that fit our army well include Balefire Dragon, Inferno Titan, Etali, Primal Storm, and Draguseth, Maw of Flames. The Balefire Dragon can wipe the board of an opposing army of any and all puny creatures. Draguseth and the Titan can point damage and either pick off other creatures or further damage our opponents. And Etali can allow us to use our opponent's resources, a sound ability for card advantage, especially in mono-red, a color that often struggles with such a concept. Playing Heartless Hitetsugu with haste can be a particularly gruesome surprise for our opponents. Magus of the Wheel can allow us to replenish our resources, and he, like Hitetsugu, gets even better with yours truly granting him haste. Hellkite Tyrant with haste might often be enough for select few opponents to surrender to us if they've been greedy with how they accelerate their mana. and Steel Hellkite can aid us in destroying certain permanent types that Red often struggles with. Being as expensive as it is, granting it haste will be most valuable. However, two of our best soldiers are the Archetype of Aggression and Torbran, Thane of Redfell. The Archetype gives all of our creatures trample, which is very deadly in tandem with haste. And Torbran increases the damage of our red sources by an additional 2. A superb effect to have for an aggressive deck such as this one. In similar vein to Torbran, another ability to have are ones that increase the amount of damage dealt to our enemies. There are simple choices such as Jaya, Venerated Fire Mage, and Embermaw Hellion, which each increase our damage output by 1. However, the forms of this ability we want are ones such as Gratuitous Violence, Furnace of Wrath, Fiendish Duo, and Angrath's Marauders. Doubling the damage our opponents take will have an immense effect in battle, as a mere 5 damage now turns into 10. The best of these effects of all is the brand new Fiery Emancipation. Doubling the damage is well and good, but tripling it will have our opponents begging for mercy. And while not quite the same, cards such as Rage Reflection and Berserker's Onslaught are highly valued in this deck for much of the same reason. There will be occasions where I cannot be accessed to give our army haste, so redundancy will be a key factor. And in this category, we have Hammer of Perforos, Anger, Fervor, and Perforos Bronze-Blooded. I am particularly fond of Perforos and his hammer, not only because of his fondness for forges, but also due to the reasons that Perforos can allow us to put any red creature from our hand out onto the battlefield for only 3 mana. And his hammer allows us to forge more soldiers in the form of 3/3 golem tokens should we run low on our own resources. One other haste granter we have deserves its own special mention. A Chromeless Memorial grants our creatures a flurry of impressive keywords. With this artifact in play, our army will be near perfect. And if there's one thing we Praetors love, it's perfection. The last general effect to discuss for this deck are extra combat spells. Red has a large quantity of these, so feel free to pick and choose whichever ones fit you. I am particularly fond of Fury of the Horde, Aggravated Assault, Savage Beating, and 2 previously mentioned soldiers, Scourge of the Throne and Combat Celebrant. Before we foray into combat, there are a few more pieces I should recommend to you. Sword of Feast and Famine and Sword of Truth and Justice give us excellent abilities for when we deal combat damage, a feature that is welcomed in this deck style. Sword of Feast and Famine in particular can provide us with infinite combat steps when paired with Aggravated Assault and Hellkite Charger. Most of the swords would be welcome in this deck, but Sword of Feast and Famine and Sword of Truth and Justice are particularly wanted because they give us protection from the other Praetor's colors. Sulfuric Vortex stops gaining of life, the bane of aggressive decks, as well as damaging our opponents each of their turns. Goblin War Drums gives our army menace, another welcome keyword for this deck. And finally, Heraldic Banner is a card that not only provides us with extra mana, but also allows us to make our red creatures larger. Even despite being seen as the weakest of my fellow Praetors, a deck with me at the helm can still act as a major threat to your enemies in battle. As some of you fleshlings say, never judge a book by its cover. Take me as your leader, and you might be pleasantly surprised at the effectiveness I possess in combat. And I hope you will aid me in making Phyrexia a perfect world. Goodbye, and until next time.